Today, it's going to be a bit more gossipy, a bit more tea spilly. I got these fabulous goodies. Got these as a giveaway from Black Swallow, which is an Australian reseller of Jeffree Star Cosmetics. So I didn't pay for these, I didn't purchase anything. Spammed a couple of emojis in a comment and I won them. I've got shiz to talk about these. You can even kind of see what's going on. Outside of the normal kind of drama that is surrounding the naming and all that stuff, and you know, the packaging of this palette where you've got Jeffree laying naked and you got the naked bodies all on the packaging of this one. The first kind of issue I'll discuss about the palette that I've discovered so far, I've cleaned it up since discovering this issue, but this is the colour story of the big palette. This is an all matte browns and warm neutrals palette. You can kind of see what's going on up here. Like a lot of darker eyeshadows, they tend to have fallouts that will stick to the packaging. Packaging of this is like a millennial pink and it's matte. So it's not shiny like a lot of his other palettes packaging is like. And you can see the staining on the packaging. It's very hard to remove because unlike his normal palettes which are shiny, the shiny packaging you can kind of rub the makeup off when it actually gets on the packaging, and then, you know, it becomes nice and clean again. But because this is a soft touch matte interior and being millennial pink with all of these dark browns and this black, when you get any fallout whatsoever in the pan and it touches the packaging, you have to get like a full-on makeup wipe and scrub it off because it will like almost want to stain the packaging. And then on top of that, because the actual eyeshadows themselves, some of the pigments, they are magnetic because, you know, they're metal. That's normal. It's because these palettes, when they close, the actual mechanism, like it closes with a magnet. You know, it doesn't just fold open. It's held together with a magnet. Because, you know, there's a magnet inside of this, the actual eyeshadows themselves that have these metals as a pigment in them, they tend to stick to the packaging. So I found, like, literally yesterday I was on a live stream I was on the panel of a live stream of one of my good friends, Zach. I was playing with this and like it started getting all over, and then I also was on a video call with my friend Joe. I'll leave her link in the description as well. It was getting so bad on this shade especially. It got all over the packaging, and while I was trying to clean it off, it just got worse and worse and worse. The actual palette itself is actually quite nice. I don't like that this is also kind of like a soft touch, bit of a shine to it, because you can see on camera especially that it's a fingerprint magnet, so it gets very dirty very quickly. Like, I've only had this for a couple of days. The back as well, it's got a little bit of dirtiness on it. I haven't even peeled off the stickers on the mirrors. Ooh. Do not like that. Ah. You can also see that, like, up above, you can see my camera on my phone, I'm like, oh. The packaging itself is already quite dirty. I've literally only owned this for a couple of days. You probably won't even see it on live stream. But the packaging already has marks and staining on it from the eyeshadows. The second palette that I got in the giveaway was this little one. It was the Mini Orgy. And this one, I mean, I really like this front packaging significantly more compared to the large palette. I don't really care to have Jeffree laying all over the lettering like that on this one. I would have loved to see like this on the bigger palette, but then with the big lettering with him laying on it. I think that would have been aesthetically really cool. But we got this, which, I mean, it still does look pretty. This has some issues. Jeffree has actually addressed this. There is formulation issues with some of the eyeshadows in this palette. I haven't had issues with one of the shades that's had a lot of issues with it, which is this shimmer here. I haven't had a lot of issues. That is Glass Wet. I'll actually flip it up the right way. this shade. Some people had issues with where the pan would actually like have weird bubbles in it, and when you would use the shade it would almost fall apart. But I haven't had issues with that pan. I've actually had issues with this one. So I'll show it up close in a second. But when I was on the live stream with my friend Zach a couple of days ago, or like yesterday I believe. Actually it was yesterday. I put my brush in the pan and it would almost self-destruct. Like it would start falling apart in the pan. On my nice camera you'll be able to see. So people watching the live stream, if you can't see everything clearly, I'm actually filming a YouTube video, so eventually you'll be able to see this a bit more in HD and close up. But you can see the shade Foam Party has some very strange texture in the pan, and when you actually use a brush in it. This is a Morphe M330, so it's just a fluffy, so just a, you know, a typical fluffy blending brush, nothing out of the ordinary, very gentle, nothing like you can see, it's very basic. I'll gently like swipe in the pan and like look at all of that fallout in the, it like broke apart. I don't know how well you guys on live stream can see it, but like I barely touched the pan and it like fell apart. There's that much product on the brush itself, and then you saw the pan kind of self-destruct. I don't know how well it's going to show up because it is such a pale light shade. You can see it is there. It obviously, this isn't the right type of brush to use with it, but I wanted to show how like barely any pressure and the pan itself would self-destruct. I'm going to be keeping this at the very least. I won them, I got them for free, so I'm not complaining too much. It's just like I wanted to discuss it because it is a thing. I'll put myself in focus. So I've actually sent Black Swallow, the company that I won this from, as well as the big palette. I sent them a photo of the issue with the pan as well as describing the issue. I've yet to receive a response, but I did first message their Instagram account, and then they told me to email their customer service account, or their customer service email address, sorry. And I've done that. I've yet to receive a response. Ultimately, I don't really care because like for me, these will make a fun keepsake anyway, because like while I didn't purchase them, they do look pretty. I'll still use them. Like the actual shade itself, like I can swatch it and it does look a bit grotty when you swatch it because it like gets all, so yeah, it's very chunky on the finger when you swatch it. It's pretty, but it definitely isn't like, it's not pleasant, and you can even see in the swatch on camera that like there's still little bits of chunks of product where it didn't want to actually thin out properly. I've used this on my eye and I've had no issues. I had no weird sensation. I've sometimes used Jeffree Star shimmers and they've almost had like a burning sensation on the eye, but that is the pigment, and I've also experienced it with like some shimmers, like loose shimmers. But for an eyeshadow pan, that is literally like, I've used this once on the eye and I've swatched it once or twice. I barely even used this and it looks like I've done a significant amount of use in the pan, because like you probably won't be able to see so much as on the phone, but like hopefully on my camera you can see how much of a dent is in the actual pan. Like I could easily hit pan if I kept on going for it within a couple of seconds. My theory for this launch, for the Orgy and Mini Orgy launch, is that this is the first launch that Jeffree Star Cosmetics has done where the actual makeup inside of the packaging, like the actual makeup, I want to believe that this is the first collection and major launch that he has actually manufactured with his labs since COVID happened. So what I think has happened is that all of the labs have shut down due to like when they went into lockdown first in March and April in California. And then during the reopening stages, they've been getting everything back up. And I think there has been, because of that closing down period, I know sometimes electronics and machines, they like, to get the best performance, you have to kind of run them a little bit first, and you get a couple of batches of products that you throw away, and then the actual batches of products you get after a couple of the first batches you throw out, they're the batches that are good. And I think maybe they just didn't do that enough. Like, and that isn't an excuse. We're talking they're a multi-million-dollar company. This is a lab. I don't know if Jeffree owns his own lab. This is pure speculation on my behalf. I don't know anything. This is just for entertainment purposes only. I don't know anything. I don't have any lawyers. I've not spoken to any legal teams at Jeffree Star Cosmetics or with anyone. I am just coming up with theoreticals. I'd assume, because this is literally one of, like, I'd like to believe that this is the first launch that Jeffree's labs have actually produced since COVID has happened and it closed down his labs in the US. That is what's causing this issue. He has actually stated that there is a lab issue officially on his Instagram stories. I think he did so a day or two ago from me while I'm filming this. So there is an issue and he has acknowledged it. I don't personally expect anything to happen with my case because I won this. I sent the company that I won this from an email about it. If I get a replacement, cool. If I don't, cool. I don't care. Like, ultimately, like, yes, these are pretty, but these aren't colours I generally wear anyways. You can also see, like, how bad the fallout is on the packaging of, like, this. All of that muck and dirt you see on the palette right now live, that is from when I swatched the shade. Like, that's how much it has fallout. It is insane. It's like that is what I was just referring. That is all the fallout from when I was swatching the eyeshadow shade before. Like, it's crazy. These two shades, I believe, have the same formula type. There are different shimmer formulas in this palette. This is an all shimmer palette, but they're different types of shimmers. So I think it is just that specific formula has an issue. Another thing I want to also show is that my Glass Wet, one of my friends who also got this palette, she had an issue with her shade Glass Wet and it was not performing that well, and whenever she swatched it, it was very lackluster. Barely any actual shimmer came off and it was very basic. I don't know yet, Erica. I'm assuming he's going to be refunding and sending out new palettes. He's done so before. And I don't believe there's any issues formulation-wise with the big palettes. It's only the minis. This is one of his other similar shades that are in the Glass Wet and Foam Party formula. This shade is Wet Jewel from Bloodlust. So I'll show you guys on the live stream a bit closer. You can see like how reflective and beautiful that is. That's the same type of formula and you do not see that like chunkiness in it. Sorry, Jeffree, your formulas are usually bomb. But like you can see a clear difference between that, this shade Foam Party. There is a very clear difference. Try and show you guys, like, oh shit, that's right, I can just do that. I forgot that it's magnetic. I can even swatch like this and it looks beautiful. And my Glass Wet, which is this one, looks similar to this when I swatch it. But my friend, when she swatches her Glass Wet, it does not swatch like that at all. So it seems like there's a couple of shades that have formulation issues. I've done a nice swatch of the Bloodlust shade, then do a swatch of Foam Party. And I'll also show something in a second too, because the strangest part is that this texture isn't atypical for shimmers. I've seen it before in other Jeffree formulas as well as other brands' shimmers, but they've never done this, and I'll show it in a sec. two, stop. Just saying so. Fuck. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell on the live stream. This blue here, this is the shade Ocean Ice from Blue Blood, which is another Jeffree Star Cosmetics eyeshadow. And it also has really strange texture. And this is an old shadow. I purchased this last year during when it first initially released. And the actual shade itself, on camera you can definitely see it. But like, it's got texture, it's got the same type of little bubbling. But it doesn't affect performance of Ocean Ice compared to Foam Party. Foam Party seems to actually have an issue with, like, it's not that pigmented at all, while this blue is beautiful. Like, I love it. It's great. And I can show you how vibrant it is. This shit's so vibrant it stains your hand. It's so vibrant. You ready for this? I'll flip you off. One swatch. Barely touch the pan, even with issue in the pan and all. You see that. You can see that. Yeah, it might be a little bit chunky, but oh my god, that blue. Absolutely stunning. Like, it is genuinely one of the most beautiful shades. And you ready for the swatch? So clearly it's not an issue with the actual texture, because that's pigment. So like, this is my issue. I don't think it is atypical for like some shimmers to have that type of texture, because you clearly just saw like the formula isn't causing that to not have pigment. Like, what the and you saw even on camera, I barely touched the pan. Like, I just did a gentle swipe. There's no crumbles, there's no craziness. While Foam Party in here is a mess. I could excuse it if this sucked too, because if this had the same issue as Foam Party with the bubbling and all sorts, but had horrible pigmentation, then I'd be like, okay, then that's a problem. But, wow, I hate ASMR, and that's gonna make me like nearly vomit while I'm editing. I torture myself sometimes. This is a blush that I got from an indie brand. You know, from a distance, it looks pretty cool. You know, it looks fine. Nothing wrong with it. Then you get up close, and you see, within all the brown, there's weird speckling of pink and red. I'm trying to show it on camera. Huh, that works. I can just do this. Makes it easier for me. Well, that's what I get for being dumb. But I just dropped it, and the whole thing just broke. Guess that kind of helps my issue. So I just lost the whole pan on the ground, so I get to vacuum that all up. It looks kind of cool though. Even with the pan, while it's still not in the best shape because I just broke it, you can still see that it's got that speckled texture, and it was very strange just to deal with in general. So like, I didn't use this on like, I won't lie, like I was grateful to receive this because I received this as a gift with a purchase from the brand alongside the 2 lipsticks that I purchased, as well as some glitters. So this was just a sample product from them. It's not the worst thing, but it's not the best. So yeah, so like, that wouldn't work as a blush on me. It's a pretty shade, like I won't lie, that is really pretty. But yeah. Well, now it's a pretty shade all over my carpet. That's what I get for shit talking, eh? If the makeup god's being like, that's what you get for not being appreciative of a free gift. Let's see if there's any other shades that were like that. Let's have a look through my Jeffree Star shimmer collection and see if there's any others that are like it. Sometimes it'd be nice just to have like a remote that could just remote control where the focus is. I depotted all of my Jeffree Star Cosmetics eyeshadows and I put them into like magnetic palettes. These are all my white silvery shades. So like none of these shimmers that are in here have any texture issues like how the other shade from the mini orgy palette has texture issues. Some reds, and I've got some reds from Blood Sugar. I've got some reds from, I've got a red from Bloodlust, which is this shade here. It seems like it's got like the slightest little bit of texture showing, but that's from me just using it in general in the corner. This shimmer here, that's an old shimmer from Blood Sugar, and that doesn't have that issue. It's not like Jeffree has done shimmers before and the shimmers have had all these horrible issues. Like, this isn't typical for his shimmers to do that, I don't believe. None of the shimmers in here have texture issue, and I've got quite a fair few shimmers in here. This probably has equally the same amount of shimmers as Matt's. This is when, if any of his shimmers had any weird texture issues, this is when I first noticed it to start, which was this shade here, which is Sworn Enemy, I believe, and that's from Bloodlust. Yeah, Sworn Enemy from Bloodlust. It's fine, I noticed that its texture was a little bit on the crumblier side, but nowhere near as bad as Foam Party from Mini Orgy. So that's the full-on blues. And you can see that's the shade there, Ocean Ice, which has that texture issue, but Ocean Ice itself doesn't actually have any performance issues, unlike Foam Party. Got a close-up of these, and you can see these shimmers don't have any issues. This shimmer here was the one I was referring to earlier. That's Wet Jewel from Bloodlust. Another one that had some similar type of texture, but the texture wasn't as like bad as Sworn Enemy. This shade here, which is another shade from Bloodlust. Pink Magic is the shade name of that one. So yeah, so Pink Magic also has some texturized moments going on, but it's that different type of shimmer formula. That shade that I've hit pan hardcore on, that's the shade Oral from the Mini Breaker palette, which is from the Jawbreaker collection. Look how crazy that shade is there. Blackish grey metallic. That's a similar type of formula to the ones that have been having issues, but like it doesn't have the crumbling occur at all. That textured black shimmer, like it swatches beautifully. Like I said, this doesn't have any of that craziness going on in it. So that's my kind of general thoughts so far on these two, on this collection, on the formula issues, on the packaging itself, and my personal issues with the packaging. I've got no actual issue with the matte formulation itself. They performed really nicely when I used them. The shimmers equally performed really nicely, and from what I've tried, at the very least, I've tried a couple of them on the eye. I tried Glass Wet and Frozen Fire, and it performed nicely. We'll see what Jeffree's response is and what he's going to do with the formulation issues. So thank you for watching. Bye.